Ariana Grande likely didn't expect that simply showing up on the red carpet would trigger a wave of backlash powerful enough to overshadow one of the biggest achievements in her career. What began as subtle chatter about her striking new look quickly snowballed into a media storm, causing many to reevaluate their perception of the pop star. And she wasn't the only one under fire. 2024 turned out to be a year where some of the most well-known names in Hollywood made choices so baffling and out of step, they alienated the very fans who once supported them without question. This wasn't about minor missteps or forgettable public blunders. These were decisions with consequences so severe, they wiped out years of carefully built reputations, cost millions in endorsements, and left these celebrities scrambling to recover while the public had already moved on. From legal disasters that spiraled out of control to marketing fails that exposed how detached some stars have become, this year showed just how unstable and fleeting celebrity status can truly be. The pop princess who sparked a health crisis debate. Ariana Grande's 2024 should have been her victory lap. With Wicked dominating box offices and her Glinda performance earning critical acclaim, everything seemed perfect. But then fans started noticing something that would derail her entire press tour. Her dramatically altered appearance that had everyone asking the same terrifying question. What happened to Ariana? The whispers started on social media, but quickly exploded into mainstream concern. Photos from the Wicked premiere showed Grande looking drastically different from her previous public appearances, sparking immediate speculation about her health and well-being. What should have been celebration of her career-defining role instead became a dissection of her physical transformation that dominated headlines for weeks. But here's where Grande made her first critical mistake. Instead of addressing the concerns with grace or simply staying silent, she went on the defensive in a way that only made things worse. During interviews, she called the comments about her body horrible and seemed genuinely frustrated that people were focusing on her appearance rather than her performance. While her frustration was understandable, her approach came across as dismissive of genuine fan concern. The backlash intensified when fans pointed out the irony. Here was a celebrity who had built her career partly on body positivity and self-acceptance, yet seemed unable to handle questions about her own dramatic physical changes. Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons, medical speculation, and heated debates about whether fans had the right to express concern about a celebrity's health. What made this controversy particularly damaging was the timing. Grande was supposed to be promoting the biggest film of her career, but instead found herself constantly defending her appearance and deflecting health questions. The Wicked press tour, which should have been a celebration, became an uncomfortable series of interviews where journalists had to navigate around the elephant in the room, while Grande grew increasingly defensive. The situation reached its peak when Grande's co-star Cynthia Erivo had to step in during interviews, trying to redirect attention back to their film, while Grande struggled with the constant scrutiny. Fans who had supported her for years began expressing disappointment, not just with her appearance, but with how she was handling the situation. The defensive responses, the apparent irritation with fan concern, and the inability to address the issue head-on created a rift between Grande and her fanbase that continues to impact her public image. The actress who turned domestic violence into a joke. Blake Lively thought she was being clever. Her promotional strategy for It Ends With Us was supposed to showcase her personality and make the heavy subject matter more approachable. Instead, it became one of the most tone-deaf promotional disasters in recent memory, turning a serious film about domestic violence into what critics called a marketing nightmare that exposed just how disconnected she was from reality. The problem started early when Lively began promoting the film with the same energy she'd use for a romantic comedy. Social media posts showed her making light of the movie's serious themes, treating interviews like casual conversations rather than discussions about abuse and trauma. Fans immediately noticed the disconnect. Here was an actress promoting a film about domestic violence while seemingly oblivious to the weight of the subject matter. But the real disaster came during press interviews, where Lively's approach became increasingly problematic. She made jokes during discussions about abuse, seemed more interested in talking about her fashion choices than the film's message, and appeared genuinely confused when journalists tried to steer conversations toward the serious themes. What should have been powerful discussions about domestic violence awareness became uncomfortable exchanges where Lively seemed completely out of her depth. The situation exploded when her co-star and director Justin Baldoni began distancing himself from her promotional approach. Reports emerged of behind-the-scenes tension, with Baldoni allegedly trying to maintain the film's serious tone, while Lively pushed for a lighter, more commercial approach. The contrast became stark. Baldoni was giving thoughtful interviews about domestic violence resources and survivor support, while Lively was posting Instagram stories about her outfits. Social media turned brutal. Domestic violence survivors and advocates called out Lively's approach as insensitive and harmful, arguing that her promotional strategy trivialized their experiences. The hashtag #OnBlakeLivelyIsOverParty began trending as fans expressed their disappointment and anger. What made it worse was Lively's apparent inability to understand why people were upset, leading to defensive responses that only fueled the backlash. The controversy reached its climax when legal documents revealed the extent of the behind-the-scenes drama between Lively and Baldoni. Allegations of unprofessional behavior, creative differences, and conflicting visions for the film's message painted a picture of an actress who was more concerned with her image than the important story she was supposed to be telling. The public sentiment data showed a dramatic shift. Lively went from beloved actress to controversial figure almost overnight, with her reputation taking a hit that industry insiders say may take years to recover from. The tech mogul's political suicide. Elon Musk's 2024 political journey reads like a masterclass in how to destroy your own empire through sheer arrogance and poor decision-making. The man who once positioned himself as a visionary above petty politics managed to alienate virtually everyone through a series of increasingly erratic choices that culminated in one of the most embarrassing public feuds in recent memory. It started with Musk's full-throated support for Donald Trump, a decision that immediately divided his customer base and sent Tesla sales into a nosedive. But Musk doubled down, using his Twitter platform to amplify far-right talking points and conspiracy theories that had even his most loyal supporters questioning his judgment. The man who built his reputation on innovation and forward thinking suddenly looked like just another wealthy person pushing political agendas. The real disaster began when Musk's relationship with Trump started souring. After months of public support and behind-the-scenes collaboration, cracks began showing in their alliance. Reports emerged of disagreements over policy, with Musk allegedly growing frustrated with Trump's approach to technology and space exploration. But instead of handling the situation privately, Musk chose the most public and embarrassing route possible. The breaking point came when Musk publicly called Trump's agenda bill a disgusting abomination, effectively ending their political partnership in the most dramatic way possible. The statement sent shockwaves through both political and business circles, with observers noting that Musk had managed to alienate both sides of the political spectrum in record time. But the political drama was just the beginning of Musk's problems. Tesla sales continued plummeting as consumers rejected the brand due to his controversial statements and erratic behavior. The company that once symbolized the future of transportation became associated with political extremism and unstable leadership. Stock prices reflected the damage, with investors losing confidence in Musk's ability to separate his personal politics from business decisions. The situation became even more embarrassing when SpaceX, Musk's other major venture, began experiencing high-profile failures during the height of his political drama. Rocket launches that should have been routine successes became public disasters, with critics pointing out that Musk seemed more focused on Twitter feuds than running his companies. The contrast was stark. The man who once landed rockets on floating platforms was now struggling with basic launches while engaged in petty political battles. The final humiliation came when Musk's break from Trump world was revealed to be a calculated business move rather than a principled stand. Industry insiders suggested that Musk's political pivot was driven by Tesla's declining sales and the need to win back alienated customers rather than any genuine change of heart. The revelation that his political positions were essentially marketing strategies destroyed what remained of his reputation as a visionary leader, leaving him looking like just another opportunistic businessman willing to say anything for profit. The pop star's privilege problem. Katy Perry's 2024 space adventure was supposed to be the ultimate celebrity flex, a chance to literally reach for the stars while promoting space tourism and scientific advancement. Instead, it became a masterclass in how privilege and tone deafness can turn what should be an inspiring moment into a public relations disaster that had fellow celebrities calling her out by name. The problem started before Perry even left Earth's atmosphere. Her announcement of the Blue Origin mission came at a time when global crises were dominating headlines. Economic uncertainty, climate disasters, and social unrest had people struggling with basic necessities. The optics of a wealthy celebrity spending millions on a joyride to space, while ordinary people faced real hardships, immediately struck the wrong chord with the public. But Perry's biggest mistake was how she promoted the mission. Instead of framing it as a scientific endeavor or educational opportunity, she treated it like a glamorous adventure, posting behind-the-scenes content that emphasized the luxury and exclusivity of the experience. Photos of her in custom spacesuits, videos of her training at exclusive facilities, and social media posts about the incredible journey all reinforced the image of space tourism as a playground for the ultra-wealthy. The backlash was swift and brutal. Fellow celebrities including Emily Ratajkowski, Olivia Wilde, and Amy Schumer publicly criticized the mission, calling it a tone-deaf display of privilege during a time of global crisis. Social media exploded with memes mocking Perry's space adventure, with users pointing out the contrast between her expensive joyride and the real problems facing the world. What made the situation worse was Perry's initial response to the criticism. Rather than acknowledging the valid concerns about privilege and timing, she seemed genuinely surprised by the negative reaction. Her defensive posts about the educational value of the mission and attempts to reframe it as inspiring for young people came across as desperate damage control rather than genuine reflection. The controversy reached its peak when details emerged about the mission's true purpose. Critics revealed that the Blue Origin flight was essentially a marketing stunt for Jeff Bezos' space tourism business, with Perry serving as a high-profile advertisement for wealthy space travel. The revelation that she was essentially a paid spokesperson for luxury space tourism while presenting it as a scientific endeavor added another layer of deception to the already problematic situation. The aftermath was devastating for Perry's public image. The woman who once positioned herself as relatable and down-to-earth suddenly looked like another out-of-touch celebrity flaunting her wealth. Reports emerged that Perry regrets the public spectacle she created, but the damage was already done. The space mission that was supposed to elevate her profile instead became a symbol of celebrity excess and privilege, marking a significant turning point in how the public perceived her. The rapper's legal humiliation. Drake's 2024 legal strategy will go down in hip-hop history as one of the most embarrassing moves ever made by a major artist. When Kendrick Lamar's diss tracks left the Canadian rapper's reputation in tatters, most expected Drake to either respond musically or gracefully accept defeat. Instead, he chose a path so desperate and pathetic that it turned him from a respected artist into a laughingstock overnight. The Kendrick Lamar beef had already exposed Drake's vulnerabilities as an artist and person, with tracks like Not Like Us becoming cultural phenomena that dominated charts and social media. Hip-hop fans and critics widely agreed that Kendrick had won the battle decisively, leaving Drake with limited options for response. The smart move would have been to take the loss, learn from it, and come back stronger with better music. Instead, Drake chose to file a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, alleging that they artificially boosted Kendrick's diss tracks to damage his reputation. The legal filing was immediately mocked across social media, with fans and fellow artists expressing disbelief that a rapper would try to use the courts to fight a battle he lost in the studio. The move violated one of hip-hop's most sacred principles, that beef should be settled through music, not lawyers. The lawsuit revealed just how desperate Drake had become. The legal documents painted a picture of an artist who couldn't accept that he'd been outperformed, instead choosing to blame record label conspiracies and streaming manipulation for his defeat. The irony wasn't lost on observers. Drake, who had built his career on the same industry systems he was now attacking, suddenly claimed they were rigged against him when things didn't go his way. The hip-hop community's response was brutal and immediate. Artists who had previously remained neutral in the Drake-Kendrick beef began openly mocking Drake's legal strategy. Social media exploded with memes comparing Drake to a child running to tell the teacher after losing a playground fight. The hashtag "I've Drake called the lawyer" began trending, with users creating increasingly creative jokes about the rapper's legal desperation. What made the situation even more humiliating was the timing. Drake filed the lawsuit just as Kendrick's diss tracks were beginning to fade from public consciousness, effectively bringing renewed attention to his own defeat. Instead of letting the beef die down naturally, Drake's legal action reminded everyone of his losses and added a new layer of embarrassment to the situation. The legal strategy also backfired commercially. Industry insiders reported that Drake's lawsuit had damaged relationships with key players in the music industry, with some executives privately expressing frustration at his attempt to weaponize the legal system against standard industry practices. Radio stations and streaming platforms that had previously supported Drake began distancing themselves from the controversy, not wanting to be associated with what many saw as an abuse of the legal process. The final nail in the coffin came when legal experts began analyzing Drake's case and finding it fundamentally weak. Entertainment lawyers pointed out that the allegations of streaming manipulation were nearly impossible to prove, and that record labels promoting their artists' music was standard practice, not conspiracy. The revelation that Drake's legal team was essentially asking courts to intervene in artistic competition made the lawsuit look even more desperate and frivolous. The memes and mockery that followed Drake's legal filing became a cultural phenomenon in their own right. Social media users created elaborate jokes about Drake calling lawyers instead of writing better bars, with some suggesting he should sue every artist who had ever outsold him. The situation became so ridiculous that even mainstream media outlets began covering it as a comedy story rather than serious legal news. The damage to Drake's reputation in hip-hop culture was immediate and severe. An artist who had once been respected for his commercial success and crossover appeal suddenly looked weak, desperate, and willing to abandon hip-hop principles when faced with real competition. The lawsuit effectively ended any remaining credibility he had in rap battles, with future opponents likely to reference his legal desperation as evidence of his artistic weakness. The price of poor choices. These 5 stars prove that in 2024's unforgiving media landscape, one bad decision can unravel decades of carefully constructed careers. Ariana Grande's defensive handling of health concerns, Blake Lively's tone-deaf promotion of serious subject matter, Elon Musk's political flip-flopping, Katy Perry's privileged space adventure, and Drake's legal desperation all share common threads: a disconnect from their audiences, poor crisis management, and an inability to read the room when it mattered most. What makes these controversies particularly damaging is how they revealed the true characters of these celebrities when faced with criticism. Instead of grace under pressure, we saw defensiveness, privilege, and in some cases, complete breakdowns of judgment that left fans questioning everything they thought they knew about their former idols. The internet age has made celebrity mistakes more visible and permanent than ever before. Screenshots, video clips, and social media posts create a permanent record that can't be erased or explained away. These stars learned the hard way that fame doesn't protect you from consequences. It actually amplifies them, turning private mistakes into public disasters that can destroy careers overnight. Perhaps most importantly, these controversies show how quickly public sentiment can shift in the digital age. Fans who once defended these celebrities through previous scandals reached their breaking points in 2024, proving that loyalty has limits and that audiences are more willing than ever to hold their idols accountable for embarrassing choices. The lesson is clear. In an era where every move is scrutinized and every mistake is amplified, celebrities can no longer afford to make tone-deaf decisions and expect their fame to shield them from consequences. The stars who crashed and burned in 2024 serve as cautionary tales for anyone in the public eye. Your next choice could be your last chance to maintain the career you've spent years building. What do you think about these celebrity meltdowns? Did any of these stars deserve the backlash they received, or did the public go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know which of these crashes shocked you the most, and if you think any of these celebrities can bounce back from their 2024 disasters. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into celebrity chaos, smash that like button and subscribe for more content exposing the wild world of Hollywood's biggest mistakes. Trust me, with the way 2025 is starting, we're going to have plenty more celebrity crashes to cover. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss when your favorite star inevitably makes their next embarrassing choice.